What's up, guys? It's Rishi TCG, and today we're going to be talking about the Black Moria matchup guide update for set 7. Uh, and let's get straight into it. If you haven't understood how to play Moria, this is a more advanced guide for better and more competitive players. It's not a basic guide. I'm assuming you know a lot of the things from my other videos. If you're new to Moria, feel free to check out the videos down below, and I'll have 2 videos on the screen right now that you'll see. Recommend those videos for you to get into Moria. But regarding that matter, let's get back into the video. So, we're gonna first talk about Black Yellow Luffy. This is probably the hardest matchup for Moria, particularly hard, but I honestly think it's way better than playing Lucci into this because of the way I built it. And speaking of builds, here's my build on the screen. I'm gonna talk about it in future videos. It is a rough draft. It's not super refined, so most likely you're gonna wanna just use it as a base and edit it to your liking. Okay, so if you're gonna go first into BY Luffy, you're probably gonna have a 40-50% chance, and if you're going second, you're gonna have a 55 to 60% chance to win. Now, in terms of the mulligan, you're looking for large bodies like 9-cost Moria and Isho, and you're looking for a searcher to build up your trash like Sindri or Brand New. Now let's go get into like the strategies I used to be BY Luffy. First of all, you're gonna starve them, okay? The only time really you wanna attack BY Luffy now is when they have when you have 2 big bodies on the board. Okay, now you need to be aware of a couple things. You need to be aware of Vegapunk Luffy and Vegapunk Luffy's effect. We'll put it on the screen right here. It's a card that allows them to attack with it, or play it out of life, and they trash it. It KOs a 4-cost, and they draw a card. So it's really good. It's self-replacing card in hand. So that's like another thing I was talking about is that BY Luffy has another Luffy body. That means they have higher chances to set up. It's easier for them to set up. So in this meta, BY Luffy is gonna be a little more buffed. Okay, it's not gonna be as easy as it used to. Now you're gonna say like never attack them. Okay, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you need Moria, you should probably attack them straight up, because Moria is so necessary to win this matchup. If you don't have big bodies, you will lose. Okay, so I mean, this is why I play 2 Isho, even considering going to 3. Okay, so let's go through a basic curve example. All the cards will be on the screen, so you can follow. It's a little different from my older videos where we have diagrams. Those just take too long, and if you really need those diagrams, go back. Okay, so if you're going first, you're just gonna the game plan for going first or second, we're just gonna talk about it as a whole, is that you're just going to be playing blockers early and then going into large bodies. Okay, the only exception you're not going to play a blocker in is if they play 5-cost Luffy, which will be on the screen right here. Okay, this 5-cost power up Luffy lets them take a life and draw a card, or trash a life and draw a card, my bad, and you need to remove it, otherwise they will reduce their life further and further and further. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so if you're so the final other tip I can give you is to extend the game a lot by throwing in a lot of blockers when you have 1 or 2 large bodies on board, and then when your opponent's hand is running out, launch go in for full lethal, because Black Yellow Luffy will get down low in cards the more they play. It's just the nature of the deck. Okay, so we'll talk about Yellow Enel. Okay, so I think in this matchup, you're gonna, most of the time, it doesn't even matter if you go first or second, you're favored. We play 4 Sabo, as well as 4 Borsalina, so this list is a little on the side of just it's super blocker heavy, so it's gonna be really hard for them to beat us. But you gotta be in mind that this leader has a big boost of the 10-cost ace, and that'll be on the screen right here. It's now, if it had a reject, I think I'd actually be scared. but it doesn't. There are two things to keep in mind when facing this opponent. Basically, in the early game, you want to keep them down to 2 life, and you want to try to get rid of the opponent's hand through Perona, Isho, and chipping at their bodies. Be careful of 2 cards, Gedatsu and Yellow Sabo. So Yellow Sabo being the 5-cost Sabo that comes in the starter deck that KOs 5-cost trashing life. And be careful of Gedatsu because they can both kill your setup cards in the early game. If the mid game, if they get ahead in the mid game and you aren't able to establish tempo, you're just gonna continue to lose. So you should consciously just use Sabo and Borso to filter your hand into the late game bodies because you're gonna need a lot of big bodies. Okay, so the strategy to prevent 9-cost Yamato strongly is that you have to make a play that basically you're gonna have to let the opponent reduce your life to 2, and you have to reduce their life to 1, so it's 3 costs because all our bodies are 4. So just keep in mind that the turn before they're 9, you want to be at 2 and they want to be at 1. Okay, but other than that, keep them at 2. Preventing them from using the Yamato strongly is how you win. And if you have a lot of large cards in your hand, you can, if you have a lot of large bodies on the board and you have a lot of 2k in hand, you can just stay, just chill and just keep swinging at them. Another thing is Kikanojo. I play, there are cards that can deal with it, like Nightmare Luffy and Brook, but we don't really have access to those cards. Of course, it's going to depend on the situation whether you would want to get rid of Kikanojo, but usually it's a get rid of angle. That's why you need to be a little careful, reading your opponent, staying at 4. You just got to have very, very good life management skills, because if you go from 4 to 3, Kikanojo activates. If you go from 4 and you guard and you're not at 2 before the Yamato turn, same thing. That's kind of just Enel. Those are the basic tips I'm gonna give you for Enel. And then Mulligan, I would look for brand new Sindri. Isho's good, Moria's good, stuff like that. Perona's good, obviously. All those things are great. Okay, now we're gonna talk about Green Bonney. Okay, so I think if you go first, it's a little hard. It's 45% to 50%. And if you're going second, I think you can go 55% to 60% because I think you have a better curve this matchup. Well, a mono green leader was basically finally out of the set, and it's finally tier 2 or tier 1, wherever you want to put it. Its leader effect is pretty good, and even if you set up 2 big bodies as a Moria player, they're gonna rest 1. But the matchup is easy to win if you keep in mind how you want to KO your opponent's characters. The most effective is Hina Absalon. If you have those cards in your mulligan. But, that's just one of the ways. You can also Hina Brook or Perona Brook to KO your opponent's characters. But you win by KOing them and maintaining tempo. Now, there is a card that is pretty fucking annoying, and it's called Basil Hawkins. The only card we have to deal with this is Brook, but I don't think it's as big of a deal to deal with than into Rob Lucci. But just be aware of the card Basil Hawkins. There are 2 ways to remove it. Let's talk about them real quick. So either way, Basil Hawkins is a 6-cost 7k blocker that says that if it leaves the field, it will proc and rest one of their characters, and it won't leave the field. Okay, so there's 2 ways to deal. I'm gonna tell you the way that we're gonna deal with this in this list, and it's with Brook. Okay, so the list I sent you, I don't know. I'm pretty sure it doesn't have Brook, but Brook is a card that you can add, and I'm gonna play it. But I think the list right now I just put there is a little good. I'll have a more refined list later. But anyway, let's talk about Green Bonney. If they have this card, and the card's on the screen right here, and they play it on 6 and you're going to 8, you have 2 options here. Okay, so you either KO it with Brook, some rendition of Brook, because the thing with Brook is that Brook says while attacking, so when it flips, the first thing that procs is while attacking, and then boom, it pops Basil before it even has the chance to proc. So that's the only counter to this card. Other than that, don't worry, if you don't have Brook, they're still pretty easy counter. Just the way to beat Bonney, you're gonna keep playing big bodies. You're just gonna spam big bodies. You're gonna play Moria, Isho, Moria, Isho, Moria, Isho. Okay, but But that Moria turn, you can play Moria on 8 into their Basil Hawkins. The next turn, they'll flip the Basil Hawkins if they're going to use it to swing into you. And in that moment, then you can swing 11 into Basil Hawkins, okay? And technically, it's not leaving the field, it's dying. So I think that's how it works. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm doing a lot of research for Japanese articles in Japan, reading that, and that's what they're saying is the best way to get rid of it. Let's talk about the mirror. I mean, okay, honestly, I'm not gonna talk about the mirror. If you want to watch the mirror, if you want to understand how to play the mirror, go back to either my advanced video guide. I know it's bad audio, but at least talks about the mirror, or go back to my old videos because they talk in depth on how to beat the mirror, and everything I say still applies because the matchup hasn't changed. It's all about getting the Morias, and I think the only different card we have to talk about is Isho, and even then, like, it seems pretty obvious like what Isho does. You know what I'm saying? So we're not really gonna talk about it, but we are gonna talk about Lucci. So Lucci chooses to go second, 55-60% of the time, and against zero cost Lucci, against Rob Lucci, mono Rob Lucci, you can gain an advantage in the early and mid game by using the leader effect to gain face difference. First go Perona. I mean, like, this just seems like basic stuff in Black Mirrors, but basically it's Perona, Borso, Sabo, using Sabo so they can't KO shit. Sixton using Hina plus leader effect, same kind of thing. Like, I don't know how to, like, it's the same deal. You're playing a Black Mirror. All right, let's talk about RP Law. Okay, so RP Law for Moria is pretty easy, okay? I personally think it's pretty easy, but I haven't really put in the inclusion of Sanji. But we are a 5k leader. The only card they got was Sanji, which is a 6 cost blocker. We can't kill that blocker with Hina Absalom, which kind of sucks. But we're still Lucci. We still have shit ton of guard. We still are able to play the game at our own pace because we have so much more resource, okay? So what we're gonna do with Law is this. So what you're gonna be looking for into Law is Brook. Brook is fucking broken into Law because Brook, well, it's a 4k body, so it's just 1 over the Gordon threshold, and it's really hard for them to get rid of Brook, okay? Like especially if you repeatedly play it and you just keep KOing their board. They also have 2 life and limited cards. So in this matchup, you're really just gonna be like establishing your board and playing Moria. The best combo in this matchup is Gecko Moria into Rebecca into Helmeppo into Brook, because it KOs a force cost, it gives you a blocker, and if you had any of those cards in your hand, like the Brook in hand, you could have grabbed a 2k from life. Right, so this is the best combo in this deck. You can also combine it with Suru. Moria is super strong in RP Law because you have the opportunity to counter all the early attacks. Always counter those 5s, always counter those 6. Don't take any life early, like, unless they're swinging like 7 or 8 at you. Okay, unless you're having to drop more than 1 card, there's no reason not to take a fucking life early. So I just can't see how people will be losing this matchup when it's so fucking easy. Like, unless you're playing against Arnold Nodbog, because he got second at the regional. I played him like 3 regionals in a row. He beat me on RP Law with Moria. Granted, he did see 3 kid killers, but I'm just saying, like, y'all need to, like, understand this, okay? That this fucking matchup is easy. This is why you play this deck. Other combos, Rebecca, Hina. Rebecca is your best friend. Borsalino is your best friend. Like, blockers are good here. Establishing a board. You just can establish a board while killing their board, and that's why Gecko is so good. Okay. So to wrap it up, like with RP Law, we will talk about the mulligan real quick. And talk about things you should be aware of. Okay, you have the only card that makes this matchup hard for us is 7 cost Ace if they run it. If they run it, you have to play a little differently. Okay, because you might not want to rest your creatures, because you could -3 to them and hit them with this small bullshit. Okay, just shit like that. This is a brief overview that gave you an idea of how to play the matchups. Okay, it's not a super advanced guide because it is a pretty advanced guide that's not very cookie cutter, because I have so much Moria content that I don't think needs to be updated because it's pretty similar. But that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope you guys like content. I'm actually making videos. I bought a camera because I'm gonna be exploring not Sakazuki, fuck Sakazuki, Sakazuki's gone. I'm gonna be exploring Gecko Moria as well as fucking Rob Lucci this set. I got 4 or 5 regionals in the next month. I am ready to get my first invite, hopefully. Enough said. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope y'all see me next time.